Hi, and welcome to Cat Run Figures. I'm your host, Caitlin, and today we are going to be doing a comic review, and today we are going to be reviewing Nightwing The New Order Issue 1. So before I jump on into this review, I want to state that this is an Elseworld story. This is completely separate from what is going on with Rebirth and Metal. This has no real lasting standing with any other book. This is its own self-contained 6-issue miniseries. So, jumping right on in to the book. The New Order. It says our heroes are human. Alright, so as we open up, we get to see Metropolis 12 years prior. So you can see smoke and ruin and Nightwing. And he's calling in first responders that are going to be there to assist anyone who is injured and that they shouldn't be struggling too much. And then we hear it. Someone says Dick's name. And we turn and we see a bloodied, beaten Superman. And he's asking him, what did he do? And Nightwing steps over Superman and says, I'm sorry, Clark. I had to save the world. And then we get to see this panel where we see a number of both heroes and villains, just metahumans alike, all attacked and just beaten and broken on the ground. So in this image, we see a good chunk of the Justice League with Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash. We see Hal Jordan's Green Lantern, and we also see Lex Luthor in his mech suit. Captain Cold's there, who I believe to be Cheetah right there, but from what I've heard, it might be Starfire. I don't know, it's a little too far off to see exactly who it is, but we get to see the narrator throughout this is talking about what it's like to be a child and what it's like to look at your parents and how they're your heroes in your eyes. So, moving forward, we get to see in the present timeline where a much older Dick Grayson is chasing after Arthur Light, aka Dr. Light, but this is a much older Dr. Light. So, of course, we're thinking, oh, clearly he's a supervillain. Clearly he's had some kind of dastardly deed. Well, we find out that he's being chased because he wasn't staying on his meds. So we also get to see that Dick Grayson has his own police force here, who he refers to as the different wings. We find out later that they're the Crusaders, but they're wearing Nightwing sigils on everything, and they're wearing almost like Arkham Knight style suits, similar to the one that's on my shirt. And we find out that he was running away because these meds, they mess with his mind, and he doesn't feel like himself when he takes them, and they inject him and take him away. And we also get to find out through this narrator that sometimes your heroes, sometimes your parents, do really terrible things. So we see the beginning of Nightwing The New Order and the new Gotham. So we get to see Dick Grayson at a press conference. He's discussing exactly what had happened with Arthur Light and the fact that it was handled. So later on, we get to see more of the Crusaders and exactly what Dick Grayson has become to the world. And now the fact that metahumans are illegal. And what we saw in an earlier panel was actually the outcome of Nightwing detonating a horrible device that was meant to attack those with the metahuman gene or powers in general. So anyone with powers was affected. Basically, this machine wiped out 90% of the superpowers throughout the world's population. Like that. However, we find out that it didn't actually affect everyone, so that's why anyone still found to have powers is legally forced to be medicated, drugged, depends how you want to say it. But we go through more. We find out that the narrator is actually his son Jake, and Jake's discussing the fact that for years his father never wanted to tell him exactly what he had done and exactly how the world came into being as it is, as he knows it today, with metahumans being public enemy number one. So continuing on, back at Casa de Grayson, we see a much older Alfred Pennyworth cooking with Jake, and we get to see him having dinner with the two Graysons, and he's also telling him that even though Bruce is gone, even though all these individuals are gone, is Dick sure that this is what they really would have wanted? So what we find out in this conversation is before the device was detonated, Bruce Wayne's Batman died somehow. We don't know how, but we also find out that the mother of Jake disappeared or left, took off for some reason. And we also find out that she herself was a metahuman. So it doesn't come right out and say who the child's mother is, but I've got my own suspicions, which I'm sure everyone does. I think it's Starfire, but you know. Moving on, so Alfred even talks about some of the severe side effects that these leftover metahumans are dealing with as a result of these medications. And is it really worth it? Is this really what's right, Dick? And Dick has a hard time with disappointing Alfred because Alfred's always meant quite a bit to him. I mean, he was basically like another father figure. You put him right up there with Bruce Wayne. So continuing on, we find out that Jake's had a little bit of a bullying problem at school, and we find out a big reason of that is because of his father. Because the family member of Arthur Light is also on Jake's basketball team. And it's been rough for everyone. Everyone's suffering out there. And Dick tells his son that he's doing what's best. He's doing what he can to protect those that he loves and to protect Gotham as much as he can, even without the Nightwing suit on. So later on in the book, we get to discover that something has happened at Jake's school. It actually happened at practice, and it's been relatively contained. Very few people know about it, and this is basically they're using as much discretion as physically possible. And that's when he opens the door and he sees that his son has in fact received his powers. And the next issue is going to be Like Mother, Like Son. So what exactly is he going to do to his own teary-eyed baby boy? I mean, is he going to force him to be medicated like he's done to so many other individuals, some of them being his own friends? I mean, we had references to Wally West in this, and of course he took down Superman. Everyone knows what Superman has meant to Nightwing. So I believe moving forward we're going to find out more of what exactly came into being for all this to happen? How did Batman die? What exactly was this device that basically almost destroyed powers as we know them? What exactly is the full outline of this law and regulation against metahumans and them being forced into containment and being drugged up? What exactly is the full outcome? Also, who is the mother of this child? They didn't mention it, but I know Kyle Higgins has mentioned Starfire several times in all of his press releases for this novel's interviews for it, and there wasn't a clear outline distinction of what happened to Starfire. Did Starfire lose her powers? Was she affected the same way that Superman was? I mean, they're both aliens, Tamaranian versus Kryptonian. What exactly was there? Is Starfire the mother? We all know what Starfire has meant to Nightwing, even the fact that they, depending on where you go in the comics, they've either been married, almost been married, had a child, haven't had a child, any number of things. But I'm really excited to see where this goes moving forward. I know a lot of people are not interested in all in this book, or they just think it's outrageous. I think it's a really interesting one-off story. I'm totally for the fact that it's not affecting the main continuity, because that would just be really shitty for everyone to lose their powers like that. But I'm all for it. I loved the art throughout, and I'm excited to see exactly how this is going to affect Dick Grayson, with now Jake Grayson having powers and what that's going to mean for him moving forward. So as always, give me a like if you like this video, comment below and tell me whether or not you picked up Nightwing The New Order and whether or not you enjoyed it as much as I did. Subscribe to my channel for more comic book content, or check out any of the older videos I have up for offer here on Cat Run Figures. And until next time, I'm your host Caitlin. Bye.